What's up guys, it's Lord Both here with another video, and more numbers have come out for Snow White this weekend, and because, again, I don't like to make you wait for the punchline, they're not good. This comes to us from Deadline, ho hum, Snow White opening to $45 million on par with Dumbo, Saturday AM box office update. The article opens by saying, here's the good news when it comes to Disney's Snow White. At $45 million, the live-action take of the 1937 tune is opening higher than other controversy-laden movies such as Warner Brothers' Catwoman and Joker Folie à Deux, and even relatively very expensive at the time, the 2012 version of Snow White Mirror Mirror. Wow, that's okay. So we're going to compare it to two movies that are well over a decade old, in which inflation is completely different. One of those movies is a comedy film. And then the third movie we're going to compare its box office to is known as an epic disaster of a movie, Joker Folie à Deux. Doesn't seem like the good company you want to keep. However, at that level, as we told you yesterday, it's right on par with Dumbo's lackluster start of $46 million and far behind other Disney feature takes of vault animated movies, i.e. Little Mermaid, Maleficent, and Cinderella. And as you might remember, at least Little Mermaid there was also an extreme failure for Disney. Also, since they want to mention Dumbo there, here are the numbers for Dumbo. And as you can see here, it did open at around $46 million to well over 4,000 theaters, and it was on a budget of $170 million. It ended up earning $353 million, which, when you take into account that Disney lies about their budgets constantly, and this movie was probably in the $200 to $230 million range, and then you have to add advertisement costs, theater cut on top of that. Yeah, this movie didn't make money, and its budget was significantly lower than something like Snow White. In fact, the article from Deadline mentions that here, amid star Rachel Zegler's candid comments during production of Snow White, yeah, candid is one way to say it, and the whole dwarf debacle, was there any way Disney could have curtailed all the bad press on the $270 million project? So just going by Deadline, this movie is already $100 million more than Dumbo in terms of budget. And again, Disney always lies about their budgets. They always underreport. The real budget for this thing, especially with the extensive reshoots we know this movie had to go through, is probably in the $320 million range, which is very, very expensive. It was already assumed that this movie was probably going to take a loss and could only really hope to break even. But now looking at these opening numbers, it's really, really difficult to see how it even does that. Snow White received a B+ cinema score, which is an extremely low grade for this type of Disney subgenre. Even the middling ones, i.e. Dumbo, Mufasa, Pete's Dragon, which they all list as A or A- there, and the Maleficent franchise, both as A's, earned top grades with audiences. The fairest grade resides in Rotten Tomatoes score of 71%, for Snow White, which is better than Dumbo at 47, and not far from Maleficent and Cinderella. Here's a point of order though. Dumbo was released I think in 2019 is what it said, and I don't know if Rotten Tomatoes had changed how they do audience scores yet back then, but they definitely have changed it now. And let's take a look at that Rotten Tomatoes score for Snow White. And here it is, just like they said, there's that terrible rating of 44% from the critics, but a glowing rating of, or at least a decent rating of 71% from the audience, right? The only problem about that is this is verified audience, which is only about 500 plus viewers that have actually given a review in verified audience. If we click on that and we go to all audience score, oh no, that's a pretty big drop with over 5,000 ratings. So significantly more. By the way, if you didn't also catch, that's a 28% from top critics. Now, of course, there are going to be people, and mostly shills out there, that are going to come in and say, well, it's review bombing. People are going in because they just hate Disney and they hate Rachel Zegler because of her political opinions and her statements before. And they're just going in, they haven't seen the movie, and they're just negatively reviewing it just because they want to see it fail. And hey, okay, maybe there are some people that do that. Yes, I'll give you that. But here's my question to you, and it's the question I always have. If those people exist, why are all the people who like Rachel Zegler's politics and her statements, and who like Disney just as a company and want to see them succeed no matter what, why aren't they coming in and counterbalancing it? Why aren't they positive review bombing this movie? You'd think they'd have incentive to if they want to see the movie succeed because of those reasons I just mentioned. But they don't. Could that mean that this is, I don't know, majorly just people who don't like the movie? The article goes on down here to say, we pointed out with Dumbo these live action takes of older vintage Disney musicals and animated movies, i.e. Maleficent, Cinderella, 101 Dalmatians, they just open lower. They have darker, colder classical themes, which don't play to today's massive female audience. Yeah, it's almost like female audiences want a feel-good Disney story where you have a clear bad guy, a clear good guy, a damsel that gets rescued by the good guy, and plays into that fantasy that most women have. And they're very particular to mention that female audience because later in the article they mention this. More under the hood with Snow White. This is the demographics of people who are actually going to see the movie. Very female skewing, they say, at 68%. So almost 70% of people, well over 2/3 of the people going to see this movie are women. 14% of the audience is between 13 and 17. 24% of the audience was 18 to 24. 23% of the audience, 25 to 34. And 38% of the audience was 35 plus. Diversity demos are at 45% Caucasian, 25% Latino, and we're just going to stop there. What do these numbers all mean? Well, that means that 70% of the people going to see this movie are women. Of that 70% of people going to see this movie, 85% of them were between the ages of 18 and 35. And the biggest chunk percentage there is 38% women at 35 plus. So essentially, adult women that are mostly white or Latino are going to see this film. So you could say, who is this film for? It's for apparently adult women who are white and maybe Hispanic. And apparently, according to the numbers that are coming in, that doesn't seem to be enough to be making money on this movie for Disney. This is supposed to be a kid's movie, really. It's supposed to be a family film, but it's not. It seems to be appealing only, really, to adult women. And you would think that would still be a win for Disney because Disney is primarily a girl's brand, and this is a girl-centric movie, but it doesn't seem to be enough to actually get them the cash that they need. But all the signs, man, all the signs in terms of reviews, in terms of the money they're actually bringing in from the box office and what it can be compared to, all point that this movie is going to be a monumental failure, which is kind of what we already knew it was going to be. And you can already see as this movie is rolling out, Disney quickly shift to promoting Lilo and Stitch, because Lilo and Stitch might be the only movie that works for them this year. But those are just my thoughts on all this. If you have your own thoughts, go ahead and leave them in the comments. If you like this video, go and like, share, and subscribe. If you didn't like this video, appreciate you watching all of it, and we'll talk to you again later.